Hello everyone and welcome to this lecture on the Elaboration Likelihood Model, the ELM. ELM is theory of persuasion that explains how people process information and form attitudes. It was developed by Richard Petty and John Cacioppo in 1979. The ELM proposes two routes to persuasion, the central route and the peripheral route. The central route is when people carefully consider the arguments in a message and think about the merits of the message. The peripheral route is when people are persuaded by superficial cues, such as the attractiveness of the source or the number of people who support the message. Let's take the example of Linda, who is deciding whether or not to vote in an election. She reads about the candidates' positions in the issues that are important, and she talks to friends and family about their opinions. This is an example of the central route because you are carefully considering the arguments in the message, that is, the candidates' positions on the issues, and thinking about the merits of the message, which candidates' positions are most aligned with your own. The peripheral route in this scenario would be if Linda votes for the candidate who is more attractive or charismatic, or who is endorsed by a celebrity or other popular figures. These are all superficial cues that could influence Linda's decision. The peripheral route is often used in election campaigns because it is a more efficient way to persuade people. It does not require people to carefully consider the arguments in a message, and it can be used to reach a wider audience. However, the peripheral route can also be more easily manipulated and is less likely to lead to a lasting change in attitudes. The ELM is based on the idea that people use cognitive shortcuts to save time and effort when processing information. These cognitive shortcuts can be used in both the central route and the peripheral route. For example, in the central route, people may use heuristics such as the rule of thumb, trust experts. This heuristic can help people to quickly evaluate the credibility of a message. In the peripheral route, people may use other cognitive shortcuts such as the attractiveness of the source or the number of people who support the message. These shortcuts can help people to quickly form an attitude towards a message, even if they do not have time or motivation to carefully consider the arguments. The ELM has been used to explain a variety of persuasion phenomena, such as the effects of advertising, political campaigns, and social movements. The ELM can also be used to help people to become more resistant to persuasion. For example, if you are trying to resist persuasion, you can focus on the central route by carefully considering the arguments in a message. You can also try to identify the cognitive shortcuts that are being used in the message and to avoid being influenced by them. The Elaboration Likelihood Model is a complex but powerful theory of persuasion. It can help us to understand how people process information and form attitudes. The ELM can also be used to help us to become more resistant to persuasion.